In the 1930s, hunger didn't knock politely. It stayed. For many black families, the Great Depression meant opening kitchen cabinets and finding nothing but flour, cornmeal, or scraps most people would throw away. And yet, children were still fed. Not because food was plentiful, but because survival demanded creativity. The meals in this video weren't comfort food. They weren't traditions meant to be celebrated. They were quiet solutions to a brutal problem. These are 5 cheap, rarely discussed dishes our black ancestors ate to survive the Great Depression. If stories like this matter to you, stay with us, because this is the side of American history that's often left untold. 1. Cornmeal water gravy. When the pantry was nearly empty and there was no meat left to cook, families made something known as water gravy. Cornmeal was mixed with water and slowly heated until it formed a thin, pale sauce, seasoned with little more than salt. It was poured over stale bread or leftover rice, transforming scraps into something warm enough to eat. This meal wasn't meant to satisfy for long. It was meant to quiet hunger until morning. For many households, water gravy marked the fragile line between eating something and eating nothing, and during the Depression, that line mattered more than taste or comfort ever could. 2. Boiled pig feet. Pig feet were among the cheapest cuts of meat available, ignored by those who could afford better. But black families understood their value. Boiled slowly for hours, the tough skin softened, and the broth turned thick with fat and flavor. Every part was eaten, and the liquid was often saved for future meals. In a decade where protein was scarce, pig feet offered nourishment when options were limited. It wasn't an easy dish, and it wasn't a pleasant one, but it kept bodies strong enough to keep working, and that was the goal. 3. Onion and grease bread. There were moments when flour was the only thing left in the house. When that happened, families made simple bread mixed with chopped onions and whatever grease had been saved. The dough was cooked slowly, filling the room with the smell of onions frying, a scent that suggested food even when food was scarce. This bread was dense and filling, designed to last through long days of labor. It wasn't meant to impress or satisfy cravings. It existed to keep hunger from winning, one meal at a time. 4. Poke salad. When stores were empty and money was gone, survival sometimes meant turning to the land. Poke salad was made from young pokeweed leaves, gathered carefully and boiled several times to remove their natural toxins. This knowledge wasn't written down. It was passed quietly from one generation to the next. Prepared correctly, poke salad became a filling meal. Prepared incorrectly, it could be dangerous. Yet families took the risk, because hunger left little room for caution. This dish reflected a deep understanding of survival that went far beyond what money could buy. 5. Cracklin' water cornbread. When even grease was scarce, families turned to the final scraps they had. Cracklins, small pieces of rendered pork fat, were mixed into thin cornbread batter and cooked using water instead of oil. The result was dense, heavy, and far from enjoyable, but it delivered calories when the body needed them most. This was survival at its limit. Nothing left to spare. Nothing left to waste. Just enough to make it through another day. These dishes were never meant to be remembered. They weren't symbols of culture or comfort. They were tools, used quietly to keep families alive during one of the hardest decades in American history. Yet through them, we see something powerful. Knowledge. Discipline. And resilience built in silence. Food wasn't just nourishment. It was survival. If you want to keep uncovering the forgotten realities of America's past, how people lived, struggled, and endured, consider subscribing and staying with us. In the next video, we'll continue exploring the meals history never celebrated, but survival made unforgettable.